Good evening. Tonight, allow yourself to slow down. The world outside can wait. The unfinished tasks can wait. The questions that have followed you throughout the day can rest for a while. For this moment, there is nothing you need to chase, nothing you need to prove, nothing you need to hold tightly. Just breathe. Feel the air entering. Feel the air leaving. A simple movement, a natural rhythm, a reminder that life is already happening without needing to be controlled. Tonight, we explore something deeply human, something almost everyone experiences, something that can create both beautiful moments and deep suffering. Attachment, the invisible thread that connects us to people, to memories, to possessions, to identities, to dreams, to the image of how we believe life should be. Attachment is a strange thing, because at first, it feels like love, it feels like care, it feels like connection, and sometimes it is. The love we have for another person, the appreciation we have for a beautiful moment, the gratitude we feel for something meaningful. These are beautiful parts of being human, but suffering begins when the mind whispers, "I cannot be okay without this." When love becomes possession, when appreciation becomes fear, when connection becomes control, when something beautiful appears, and the mind immediately becomes afraid of losing it. This is where suffering begins. The garden of flowers. Imagine a person walking through a peaceful garden. The garden is filled with beautiful flowers, colors everywhere, soft fragrance in the air, sunlight passing through the leaves. The person feels happiness. They smile. They feel grateful. Then, suddenly, a thought appears. What if these flowers disappear? The person looks closer. The flowers are still beautiful, but now something has changed. The person is no longer simply enjoying the flowers. They are protecting them. They check them constantly. They worry about the weather. They fear the wind. They fear the rain. They fear tomorrow. The flowers that once created joy now create anxiety. Why? Because the person is no longer experiencing the flowers. They are trying to own time, trying to freeze a moment, trying to prevent change. But change is the nature of all things. The flower blooms, the flower fades, the season arrives, the season passes. The beauty was never in making the flower permanent. The beauty was in experiencing it while it was there. The monk and the falling leaf. Long ago, in a quiet mountain temple, there lived a young monk named Sora. Sora was kind. He was thoughtful. He loved nature. He loved the peaceful life of the temple. Every morning, he walked through the forest. He watched the sunrise. He listened to the river. He observed the changing seasons. Among everything in the forest, there was one tree he loved most. It was an ancient maple tree. Its branches stretched wide. Its leaves turned golden during autumn. Every year, Sora waited for this moment. The golden leaves, the quiet air, the beauty of change. But one autumn, something different happened. Sora noticed one particular leaf. It was brighter than the others, more beautiful, perfectly shaped. He became attached to it. Every day, he visited the tree. He checked the leaf. He protected it from the wind. He gently touched it. He thought, "I hope this leaf never falls." The old teacher noticed. One evening he asked, "Sora, why do you visit the tree every day?" Sora replied, "Master, there is a perfect leaf. I do not want it to disappear." The teacher smiled. "Why?" Sora answered, "Because it brings me happiness." The teacher looked at the tree, then said, Does the leaf give you happiness? Sora was confused. Yes. The teacher shook his head. No, the leaf gives you a moment. You create the happiness. Sora remained silent. The teacher continued. The problem is not loving the leaf. The problem is believing the leaf belongs to you. The moment you say, this must stay forever, you create fear, because everything changes. That night, Sora sat beneath the tree. He watched the leaf. A gentle wind arrived. The leaf moved, slowly, gracefully. Then, it let go. It floated through the air and landed softly on the ground. Sora felt sadness, but something else appeared too. Understanding. The leaf was never his. It was a gift, a temporary gift, a beautiful moment, and because it was temporary, it was precious. The root of attachment. Buddhist teachings often speak about attachment as a source of suffering. Not because we should stop caring, not because we should become cold, not because we should avoid love. The Buddha never taught, do not love. The teaching is, love without clinging. There is a difference. Clinging says, stay with me forever. Love says, I am grateful you are here. Clinging says, you complete me. Love says, I appreciate sharing this journey with you. Clinging creates fear. Love creates freedom. Why we hold on? Why do humans attach? Because the mind seeks safety. It looks at something beautiful and says, keep this. It finds something meaningful and says, do not let this change. It experiences happiness and says, make this last forever. But life does not promise permanence. Everything we love changes. Our bodies change. Relationships change. Places change. People change. Moments change. Not because something is wrong, but because change is the movement of life. A river that refuses to move becomes stagnant. A tree that refuses to release old leaves cannot grow new ones. And perhaps humans are the same. Sometimes we suffer not because we lose something. We suffer because we refuse to accept that everything is part of a changing journey. Tonight's reflection, as you rest, gently ask yourself, what am I holding too tightly? Is it a person, a memory, a past version of yourself, a dream, a certain outcome? What are you afraid of losing? And beneath that fear, what belief is hiding? Perhaps, I will not be okay. But is that truly the truth? Think of everything you once believed you could not survive. A difficult ending, a painful goodbye, a moment that broke your heart, and yet, you continued. You adapted. You learned. You grew. The thing you feared losing was not the source of your ability to live. You were always carrying that strength within you. The first step of letting go. Letting go does not mean throwing away. It means loosening your grip, like holding sand in your hand. If you squeeze tightly, the sand escapes. But if you hold gently, you can appreciate its texture. Life is the same. Hold too tightly, and fear appears. Hold gently, and gratitude appears. Tonight, you do not need to release everything. You only need to notice. Notice what feels heavy. Notice what creates fear. Notice what your mind says. I cannot live without this. And simply observe. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. The moon does not cling to the night. The sun does not cling to the day. The flower does not cling to its bloom. Everything arrives. Everything changes. Everything continues. And perhaps you can learn to move with life too. Take a slow breath. The night is quiet. The lantern is glowing. The world is resting. For this moment, you do not need to hold anything. Just breathe. Just be, and allow life to gently unfold. Welcome back. The night continues. The world becomes quieter, and perhaps your breathing has become slower. Your mind has become softer. Tonight, we continue exploring attachment. But now, we look at the place where attachment often feels the strongest, the heart. Because the deepest attachments are rarely to objects. They are often to people, the people we love, the people who give meaning to our lives, the people we cannot imagine losing. And this is where the lesson becomes delicate, because love is one of the most beautiful experiences of being human. To love someone, to care for someone, to cherish someone's presence. This is not the problem. The suffering begins when love quietly changes into fear. When the mind says, what if they leave? What if they change? What if I lose them? What if I'm not enough? And slowly, instead of enjoying the person in front of us, we begin living in fear of a future that has not arrived. We stop experiencing love and start protecting ourselves from loss. The mother and the butterfly. There was once a woman who lived in a small village near the mountains. She had one child, a young boy named Kai. From the moment he was born, he became the center of her world. She watched him grow. She taught him. She protected him. She celebrated every small step. His first words, his first steps, his first day learning, his first dreams. Every moment felt precious. But as Kai grew older, the mother began to feel something changing. The child who once held her hand everywhere began walking his own path. He wanted to explore. He wanted to learn. He wanted to see the world beyond the village. And the mother became afraid. She thought, what if something happens? What if he leaves and never returns? What if I lose him? Her love became mixed with fear. She started asking him, where are you going? When will you return? Why do you want to leave? Not because she did not love him, because she loved him so much that she became afraid. One day, an old monk visited the village. The mother went to him. Master, she said, I am suffering. The monk asked, why? She answered, because I love my son. The monk looked surprised. Love creates suffering. She nodded. I love him so much that I am afraid of losing him. The monk smiled gently. Then he walked to a nearby garden. There he saw a butterfly resting on a flower. The monk said, hold your hand out. The woman did. The butterfly landed softly on her hand. Now close your fingers. She hesitated. But I might hurt it. The monk nodded. Exactly. If you hold too tightly, you destroy what you are trying to protect. The woman looked at the butterfly. The monk continued, love is like this. When we hold gently, love can remain. When we try to own, fear appears. The butterfly does not belong to your hand. It simply visits. Your joy comes from experiencing its beauty, not from forcing it to stay forever. The mother became quiet. For the first time, she saw her attachment clearly. She did not love her son less. She loved him differently, not as something she owned, but as a life she was honored to witness. The illusion of ownership. One of the deepest causes of attachment is the idea of ownership. My person, my child, my partner, my life, my success, my identity. The mind creates a sense of possession. But can we truly own anything? Can we own another person's thoughts, another person's choices, another person's journey? Can we own time? Can we own youth? Can we own a moment? Everything we experience is temporary. Not because life is cruel, because life is alive. A flower that never changes would not be a flower. A sunset that never ends would lose its beauty. A song with no ending would lose its meaning. The beauty comes partly because it passes. The guest in your home. Imagine your home. A beautiful guest arrives. Someone you deeply enjoy. You spend time together. You laugh. You share stories. You create memories. Would you say, you must stay here forever? No, because you understand they are a guest. You appreciate their presence. You do not demand their permanence. Buddhist wisdom teaches us, everything in life is a guest. People, moments, experiences, feelings. They come, they stay for a while, then they move on. The suffering begins when we treat guests as prisoners. The fear behind attachment. Attachment often hides a deeper fear. The fear of emptiness. The mind says, if this person leaves, I will be alone. If this achievement disappears, I will have no value. If this situation changes, I will not be okay. But this belief is not true. You were alive before that person arrived. You existed before that success happened. You were whole before that moment appeared. Something beautiful entered your life, but it did not create your worth. It only revealed a part of life you were able to experience. Like sunlight entering a room. The sunlight is beautiful, but the room existed before. A Zen teaching about the river. A student once asked a Zen master, why do humans suffer so much when things change? The master took the student to a river. He pointed at the flowing water. Do you see the river? Yes. Is the water the same as yesterday? No. Yet do you still call it a river? The student nodded. The master smiled. This is the mistake people make. They believe something must remain unchanged to be meaningful. But the river is beautiful because it flows. Life is meaningful because it changes. Loving without holding. Perhaps the greatest lesson of attachment is this. Love does not need chains. A bird that is loved is not kept in a cage. A flower that is loved is not covered in glass. A person that is loved is not controlled. True love says, I am grateful you are here. Not, you must always remain. True love says, I wish for your happiness, even when the path changes. This is difficult, because the heart wants guarantees. But life does not give guarantees, it gives moments. And the wise person learns to receive moments fully. Tonight's reflection. Think about someone you love. Notice the feeling, the warmth, the gratitude, the connection. Now notice if fear is mixed inside. Fear of losing, fear of change, fear of the unknown. Gently separate them. The love is precious. Keep the love. The fear is heavy. Release the fear. You can love someone deeply without trying to control their journey. You can appreciate someone without demanding forever. You can be grateful without clinging. Returning to the moonlit lake. Imagine once again standing beside the quiet lake. The moon reflects on the water. The air is peaceful. In your hands is a small lantern. Inside this lantern is the love you carry. Not the fear, not the worry, not the need to hold tightly. Only love. You place the lantern on the water. It floats gently. You watch it move, and you understand. Something can leave your hands without leaving your heart. A person can change. A moment can end. A season can pass. But gratitude remains. Love remains. The memories remain. The beauty was never in possession. The beauty was in presence. Take a slow breath. Release the need to control what you love. Allow life to breathe. Allow people to grow. Allow moments to come and go. Because the things we love are not meant to be trapped. They are meant to be experienced. The butterfly flies, the flower blooms, the river flows, and love, when it is free, becomes peaceful. Rest now. The heart can soften, the hands can relax, the fear can rest. You do not need to hold everything tightly to keep it close. Some things stay, because they were never meant to be held. Welcome back. The night continues. The lantern beside you glows softly. The world outside becomes quieter with every passing moment. Tonight, we go deeper, beyond the attachment to things, beyond the attachment to people. We enter a place much closer, a place many people rarely examine. The attachment to ourselves, the image we carry, the story we tell, the person we believe we must become. Because sometimes the heaviest thing we carry is not something we own. It is the idea of who we are, the invisible identity. From a young age, we begin collecting identities. I am successful. I am intelligent. I am strong. I am the person who always helps others. I am the person who never fails. At first, these identities seem helpful. They give us direction. They help us understand ourselves. But slowly, something changes. The identity that once supported us becomes a prison, because now we are afraid of anything that threatens the image. A successful person becomes afraid of failure. A strong person becomes afraid of showing weakness. A person who always helps others becomes afraid of needing help. The attachment is not to reality. The attachment is to an image. And when reality does not match the image, suffering appears. The painter who lost his painting. Long ago, there was a talented painter who lived near a mountain village. His paintings were famous. People traveled from distant places to see his work. The painter became known as the man who creates perfect beauty. Everyone praised him. Everyone admired him. And slowly, he began to love not only painting, but the identity of being a great painter. One day, he created what he believed was his greatest masterpiece, a painting of a peaceful mountain landscape. He spent months creating it. Every detail was perfect. The colors, the balance, the emotion. When people saw it, they were amazed. "This is your greatest work," they said. The painter smiled. He felt proud. But then, something unexpected happened. A visitor accidentally spilled water onto the painting. The colors blurred. The image changed. The masterpiece was damaged. The painter became devastated, not because of the painting, but because his mind said, "My greatness has been destroyed." He stared at the damaged artwork for days, unable to accept what happened. Finally, he visited an old Zen master. The master looked at the painting, then looked at the painter. "Why are you suffering?" the master asked. The painter replied, "Because my greatest creation is gone." The master smiled. "No, you are suffering because an idea about yourself has been damaged." The painter became silent. The master continued, "Before this painting existed, were you nothing?" The painter looked confused. "Before people praised you, did you not exist? Before you became known as a great artist, was there no beauty within you?" The painter lowered his eyes. For the first time, he saw the difference. The painting was something he created, but it was not who he was. The problem with I am. The mind loves fixed definitions. I am this. I am that. But life is constantly changing. The person you were 10 years ago is not exactly the person you are today. Your thoughts changed. Your experiences changed. Your beliefs changed. Your body changed. Your dreams changed. Yet the mind tries to hold on to a permanent identity. It says, "This is me." But what is me? Is it the body? The body changes. Is it the thoughts? Thoughts change. Is it emotions? Emotions change. Is it achievements? Achievements come and go. So what remains? This question has been explored by Buddhist teachers for thousands of years, and the answer is not something to memorize. It is something to experience. The quiet awareness behind all change. The part of you that observes. The tree that did not need a name. Imagine an ancient tree standing in a forest. The tree does not say, "I am tall, I am beautiful, I am the strongest tree." It simply grows. In spring, it grows leaves. In summer, it provides shade. In autumn, it releases its leaves. In winter, it rests. The tree does not suffer because it changes. It does not cling to the version of itself from last year. It understands something humans often forget. Change is not the enemy of existence. Change is existence. Attachment to success. One of the strongest forms of attachment is attachment to success. The mind says, "When I achieve this, then I will be happy. When I have more money, when I receive recognition, when people respect me, then I will finally be enough." But many people discover something painful. They achieve the thing they wanted, and after the excitement fades, the mind creates a new desire, another goal, another mountain, another condition. The finish line moves, and happiness becomes something always waiting in the future. But peace cannot live only in the future, because the future never arrives. There is only this moment, the empty throne. There is an old Zen story about a king. The king had everything: a palace, wealth, power, respect. But he was unhappy. Every night he worried, what if someone takes my position? What if people stop respecting me? What if I lose everything? One day, he visited a monk. The monk asked, "Why are you unhappy?" The king replied, "Because I have so much to lose." The monk smiled. "Then perhaps your possessions do not belong to you." The king was surprised. "What do you mean?" The monk pointed to the throne. "Sit there." The king sat. The monk asked, "Can you stay there forever?" "No." "Can you stop time from changing?" "No." "Can you guarantee this throne will always be yours?" "No." The monk nodded. "Then you are not sitting on a throne. You are sitting on something temporary." The king became quiet. The lesson was not that success is bad. The lesson was, enjoy what comes, but do not build your entire identity on something that can disappear. Letting go of the false self. Tonight, gently ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? Your reputation, your image, your achievements, your role, and then ask, if this changed, would I still exist? The answer is yes. You are more than your success, more than your mistakes, more than your past, more than what others think of you. You are the awareness experiencing this journey. The moon, reflection. Imagine standing beside the lake again. The moon reflects on the water. You look into the reflection. You see yourself. But then a small wave moves across the lake. The reflection changes. Did the moon disappear? No. Only the reflection changed. The same is true with you. The image changes. The roles change. The circumstances change. But something deeper remains. You are not only the reflection. You are the sky. Tonight's letting go. Place your hand over your heart and quietly say, I release the need to prove myself. I release the need to be perfect. I release the fear of becoming someone different. I allow myself to change. I allow myself to grow. I allow myself to simply be. The lantern glows. The lake is calm. The mountains remain silent. You do not need to protect an image tonight. You do not need to maintain a story. You do not need to carry the weight of who you think you should be. You are allowed to rest. Not as someone successful. Not as someone perfect. Not as someone who has everything figured out. Just as you are. And that is enough. Welcome back. The night continues. The lantern still burns softly beside you. The lake remains calm. The mountains remain silent. And now, we enter one of the deepest places where attachment hides. The past, the moments that are gone. The seasons that ended. The people who changed. The versions of ourselves we can never return to. The past is powerful, because unlike the future, the past feels real. We have memories, images, feelings, stories, and because they feel real, the mind sometimes returns there. Again and again, trying to fix what cannot be changed, trying to understand what cannot be undone, trying to hold what has already moved away. But the past is like water that has already flowed down the river. You can remember the river. You can appreciate the river. You can learn from the river. But you cannot step into the exact same water twice. The monk who carried a memory, long ago, in a quiet temple hidden among the mountains, there lived a young monk named Daichi. Daichi was peaceful in many ways. He practiced meditation. He helped others. He studied the teachings. But there was one thing he could not release. A memory. Before becoming a monk, Daichi had a close friend. They grew up together, shared dreams together, walked the same paths. His friend was someone who understood him deeply. But one day, life changed. They separated. They chose different paths. And years passed. Daichi often thought about those days. He remembered the laughter, the conversations, the dreams they once shared. But he also remembered the ending, the words left unsaid, the things he wished he had done differently. The memory became heavy. One evening, his teacher noticed him sitting alone beside the river. The teacher asked, "Why do you look sad?" Daichi replied, "I keep thinking about the past." The teacher sat beside him. "What part of the past?" Daichi looked down. "The moments I lost, the person I lost, the life I could have had." The teacher remained quiet. Then he picked up a leaf, floating on the river. "Tell me, where did this leaf come from?" Daichi answered, "From the tree." "Where is it going?" "Wherever the river carries it." The teacher nodded. "Can you make the leaf return to the tree?" Daichi shook his head. "No." "Can you force the river to flow backward?" "No." The teacher smiled. "Then why do you ask your own life to do what nature cannot do?" Daichi became silent because he understood. He was asking the past to return. He was asking yesterday to become today. He was asking an old chapter to reopen. But life had already turned the page. The addiction to what if. One of the strongest forms of attachment to the past is regret. The mind creates a different version of reality. What if I chose differently? What if I said something else? What if I tried harder? What if I stayed? What if I left? The mind creates endless paths and then suffers because it cannot walk them all. But the truth is, you can only live one life, one path, one moment at a time. The other paths exist only in imagination. And sometimes we compare our real life to a fantasy version of what could have been. Of course we lose, because imagination can be perfect, reality cannot. The broken bowl and the lesson of impermanence. There is an old Zen story about a monk who owned a beautiful bowl. The bowl was simple, but it had great meaning. Every morning, he drank tea from it. Every evening, he cleaned it carefully. The bowl reminded him of gratitude. One day, another monk asked, "Why do you care so much about this bowl?" The monk replied, "Because it is precious." The other monk smiled. "Do you know the secret of the bowl?" "What secret?" "It is already broken." The monk looked confused. "The bowl is not broken." The teacher nodded. "Not yet, but one day it will be. Everything you love is already changing. The moment you accept this, you stop fighting reality." The monk looked at his bowl differently after that. He still loved it, but he no longer feared losing it, because he understood. The beauty was never that it would last forever. The beauty was that it was here now. The past as a teacher, not a home. The past has a purpose. It teaches. It gives wisdom. It shapes who we become. But the past was never meant to become your home. A teacher can guide you, but you do not live inside a classroom forever. A road can bring you somewhere, but you do not stand on the road forever. A chapter can change you, but you cannot remain on the same page forever. Life continues, and when we refuse to continue, we suffer. The old photograph. Imagine finding an old photograph. You look at it, and suddenly you remember. A place, a person, a time. For a moment, you feel the emotions again, the happiness, the sadness, the longing. But then notice something. The photograph is not the moment. It is only a memory of the moment. The person in the photo has changed. You have changed. The world has changed. Yet the mind tries to make the photograph alive again. This is attachment, not loving the memory, but refusing to accept that it has passed. Forgiving the past. Sometimes, what we hold on to is not only nostalgia. Sometimes it is pain. Something someone did, something we did, something we wish never happened. And the mind says, "I must keep remembering this." But remembering pain is not the same as healing pain. A wound cannot heal if it is constantly reopened. Forgiveness does not mean saying, "What happened was okay." It means saying, "I refuse to let this moment control my entire future." You release the poison, not because the other person deserves it, because you deserve peace. Tonight's practice, the river of time, tonight. Imagine yourself standing beside a river. In your hands are small stones. Each stone is a memory, a regret, a loss, a moment you wish you could change. You hold them, feel their weight, then gently, one by one, place them into the river. Watch the water carry them away, not because they were meaningless, because they have completed their purpose. Every lesson, every experience, every chapter, they helped shape you, but they do not need to travel with you forever. The river continues, and so do you. Returning to the present, the past is behind you, not because it does not matter, but because life is calling you forward. The flower does not return to the seed. The sunrise does not return to the night. The river does not return to the mountain. And you do not need to return to who you were. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to begin again. Take a slow breath. Feel this moment. This breath has never existed before. This night has never existed before. This version of you has never existed before. And that is beautiful, because life is always offering something new. The lantern glows. The lake reflects the moon. The past rests behind you. And for tonight, you can finally put it down. Not with anger, not with rejection, with gratitude. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for bringing me here. And now, I continue. Welcome back. The night continues. The world becomes softer. The sounds around you become quieter. And now, we turn toward another place where attachment creates suffering. Not the past, not memories, not what has already happened, but the future, the endless world of possibilities, the things that have not arrived, the moments that do not yet exist. The future is interesting because it feels like something we can reach, something we can prepare for, something we can control. And because the mind wants safety, it tries to hold the future in its hands. It plans, it predicts, it imagines, it worries, it creates thousands of versions of tomorrow. And then, it becomes exhausted trying to manage a world that does not exist yet. The attachment to an imagined future. Many people do not suffer because of what is happening. They suffer because of what they imagine might happen. The mind says, what if I lose everything? What if I fail? What if things do not go according to plan? What if something goes wrong? And slowly, a future that has not arrived begins controlling the present. A person is sitting in a peaceful room, but their mind is fighting battles in tomorrow. The body is safe, but the mind is preparing for danger. This is one of the hidden forms of attachment. Attachment to certainty. The desire for life to follow the story we created. The farmer who wanted to know tomorrow. There was once a farmer who lived near a quiet village. He was wise and hard-working. He loved his land. He cared for his animals. He respected the changing seasons. But there was one thing that troubled him. He always wanted to know what would happen next. Before planting seeds, he worried. What if the harvest fails? Before the rain came, he worried. What if there is too much rain? Before winter arrived, he worried. What if we cannot survive? He spent so much time preparing for possible disasters that he forgot to enjoy the life already in front of him. One day, he visited an old monk who lived near the mountain. "Master," the farmer said, "I work hard, I prepare, I think carefully, but I still feel afraid." The monk asked, "What are you afraid of?" The farmer replied, "The future." The monk smiled. "Show me the future." The farmer looked confused. "What? Show me the thing you fear." The farmer looked around. There was only the forest, the river, the mountains, the present moment. He could not find the future. The monk said, "You are suffering because you are carrying something that does not exist yet." The farmer became silent. The monk continued, "Preparation is wisdom, but worry is attachment. Preparation acts in the present. Worry tries to control the unknown. The difference between care and control. This is an important distinction. Caring is beautiful. Control creates suffering. You can care about someone without controlling their choices. You can prepare for tomorrow without living in tomorrow. You can have dreams without believing your happiness depends on achieving them. The problem is not having desires. The problem is believing, when I get this, then I will finally be okay, because the mind always moves the finish line. You reach one goal, then another appears. You solve one problem, then another arrives. If peace depends on everything becoming perfect, peace will always be postponed. The man who chased the horizon. There is an old story about a traveler. The traveler heard that beyond the mountains existed a place of complete happiness. a place where there were no problems, no suffering, no worries. So he began walking. Every day, every year, he crossed valleys, he climbed mountains, he traveled through forests. But every time he reached a new place, he saw another horizon ahead, and he continued chasing. One day, an old woman sitting beside the road asked, "Where are you going?" The traveler replied, "I am searching for the place where I can finally be happy." The woman smiled. "How long have you been searching?" "Many years." "And have you been happy during those years?" The traveler became quiet, because the answer was no. He had sacrificed the present for a future he hoped would save him. The illusion of someday. The mind loves this word. Someday. Someday I will rest. Someday I will be happy. Someday I will feel complete. Someday everything will make sense. But someday is always moving, like a shadow. You walk toward it, it moves away, and suddenly, years have passed. The Buddha taught that the only moment we truly possess is now. Not because tomorrow does not matter, but because tomorrow can only be reached through today. The future is built from moments like this, the seed and the tree. Imagine planting a seed. You place it in the soil, you water it, you care for it, but every morning you dig it up to check if it is growing. What happens? The seed cannot grow. Why? Because you are trying to control a natural process. Life works the same way. Growth needs patience. Healing needs patience. Relationships need patience. Dreams need patience. Not everything can be forced. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to act and when to allow. Releasing the need to know. Tonight, ask yourself gently, what future am I trying to control? Is it a relationship, a career, a decision, a dream? What are you afraid will happen? Now ask, can I meet that moment when it arrives? Not today, not in imagination, but when it actually comes. Because the truth is, you have survived every difficult moment that has arrived so far. You have faced things you once thought you could not handle, and somehow you are here. Perhaps you do not need to control the future. Perhaps you only need to trust yourself. The moon and the clouds. Imagine looking at the moon. Clouds move across the sky. Sometimes they cover the moon completely. Would you panic? Would you think, the moon is gone forever? No, you know the moon is still there. The clouds simply pass. Life is the same. A difficult moment is a cloud. A fearful thought is a cloud. A period of uncertainty is a cloud. Do not mistake the cloud for the sky. Do not mistake a difficult season for your entire life. Tonight's letting go. Imagine holding a lantern. Inside the lantern are all the futures you have been trying to control. The outcomes, the possibilities, the fears. Place the lantern on the river. Watch it float away. You are not giving up. You are trusting. You are saying, I will meet life when it arrives. The river knows where to go. The moon does not chase tomorrow. The tree does not worry about next season. And tonight, you can rest. The future will come. And when it comes, you will be there. Take a slow breath. The mind becomes lighter. The heart becomes calmer. There is no need to live tomorrow tonight. Tonight belongs to now. The lantern drifts away. The lake becomes still. The night embraces you. And for this moment, everything is enough. Welcome back. The night continues. The lantern beside the lake still glows softly. The water remains calm. The mountains remain silent. And now, we arrive at one of the deepest forms of attachment, the attachment to control. The belief that if I can control everything, I will finally feel safe. The mind spends so much energy trying to manage life, trying to predict, trying to organize, trying to prevent, trying to make sure nothing unexpected happens. But life has never promised to be predictable, and perhaps much of our suffering comes from fighting this truth. The human desire for control. Control feels comforting. When things are organized, we feel calm. When plans go perfectly, we feel safe. When people behave the way we expect, we feel peaceful. But what happens when life changes? When someone makes a choice we did not expect, when a plan fails, when something unexpected arrives, the mind immediately says, "This should not be happening," and the struggle begins. Not because the event itself is always painful, but because we are fighting reality. The monk and the storm. There was once a young monk who lived in a mountain temple. His name was Ren. Ren loved order. He loved discipline. He loved knowing exactly what would happen. Every morning, he followed the same routine. Meditation at sunrise, cleaning the temple, studying teachings, working in the garden. The other monks respected him, but his teacher noticed something. Ren became very upset whenever something changed. If the weather changed his plans, he became frustrated. If another monk made a mistake, he became irritated. If something unexpected happened, his peace disappeared. One day, a powerful storm arrived. The wind became strong. The rain fell heavily. Branches broke. The garden was damaged. Ren looked outside and became angry. "Why is this happening?" he said. "The garden was perfect. My plans were perfect. Everything was in order." The old teacher walked beside him. "Is the storm listening to you?" the teacher asked. Ren was silent. "Can your anger stop the rain?" "No." "Can your frustration rebuild the garden instantly?" "No." The teacher smiled. "Then why add another storm inside yourself?" Ren looked confused. The teacher continued. "The first storm is outside. The second storm is created by your mind." This lesson stayed with Ren because he realized something. Life will always bring storms. The question is not, how do I prevent every storm? The question is, how do I remain peaceful when storms arrive? The illusion of control. The mind believes control creates security, but often, control creates fear. Because once you become attached to controlling everything, everything becomes a threat. A change becomes a threat. A mistake becomes a threat. A different opinion becomes a threat. An uncertain future becomes a threat. Suddenly, life becomes something to defend against, instead of something to experience. The potter and the clay. Imagine a potter creating a beautiful bowl. The potter shapes the clay carefully, patiently. But after shaping it, the potter must place it in the fire. The fire changes the clay. The potter cannot control every detail, the temperature, the movement, the final result. But without the fire, the bowl would never become complete. Sometimes life is the same. The challenges we resist are part of the process that shapes us. The changes we fear may create growth we cannot yet see. Trying to control others. One of the most painful forms of control is trying to control another person, because another person's mind is not ours. Their choices, their feelings, their journey, all belong to them. Yet people often suffer because they silently expect others to behave according to their wishes. My partner should understand. My family should change. My friend should act differently. And when reality does not match the expectation, pain appears. But love without freedom becomes a cage. A flower does not grow faster because we demand it. A person does not transform because we pressure them. Everyone has their own path. The two travelers. There is an old Zen story about two travelers walking together. They reached a river. Near the river stood a woman who needed help crossing. One traveler immediately helped her. He carried her across. The two travelers continued walking. Hours passed. The second traveler became angry. Finally he said, "We are monks. We should not have touched her." The first traveler looked surprised. "I carried her across the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The second traveler became silent, because he understood. He was not carrying the woman. He was carrying a thought. And many people do this. They carry other people's choices, other people's emotions, other people's problems. They carry things that were never theirs. The freedom of acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean you stop caring. Acceptance means seeing reality clearly and responding wisely. A sailor does not control the ocean. A sailor studies the wind, adjusts the sail, and moves with the waves. The wise person does the same. They do not demand that life become different. They learn how to move through life as it is. Tonight's reflection. Ask yourself gently, what am I trying to control? A person, a situation, a result, a future? And ask, is this truly mine to control? Perhaps you will discover some things are yours. Your actions, your choices, your attitude, your response. But many things are not. Other people's opinions, other people's decisions, the passing of time, the changing of life. Peace begins when we stop fighting the difference. The open hand. Imagine holding a small stone in your hand. The stone represents control. The tighter you squeeze, the more tension you feel. Your hand becomes tired. Your body becomes tense. Now, slowly, open your hand. The stone is still there, but there is no struggle. This is letting go, not throwing everything away. Simply releasing unnecessary tension. Returning to the lake. Return now to the quiet lake. The moon reflects on the water. You place the things you cannot control into a lantern. Other people's choices, future outcomes, unexpected changes. You place them inside. Then gently, you let the lantern float away. The water carries it. The river knows how to move. You do not need to push it. You do not need to guide every current. You can trust. The night is quiet. The body is resting. The mind is softer. You were never meant to control the entire ocean. You were only meant to learn how to sail. Take a slow breath. Release the struggle. Release the resistance. Allow life to move. And allow yourself to move with it. Welcome back. The night has become deeper now. The world outside is quiet. The moon continues shining above the lake. And, perhaps, something inside you has begun to soften. Tonight we have traveled through many forms of attachment. Attachment to things, attachment to people, attachment to our identity, attachment to the past, attachment to the future, attachment to control. And now, we arrive at the final lesson, the purpose of letting go. Because letting go is not about becoming empty. It is not about caring less. It is not about becoming cold. Many people misunderstand this teaching. They hear, do not attach, and they think, then I should stop loving. But the Buddha never taught that. The wisdom is not to remove love. The wisdom is to remove the fear that poisons love, to love without possessing, to appreciate without clinging, to experience without demanding permanence. The difference between holding and holding on. There is a difference between holding something and holding on. A parent holds a child. That is love. But when the parent says, "You must become what I want. You must never leave. You must always stay the same," the love becomes attachment. A person holds a beautiful moment. That is gratitude. But when the person says, "This must never change," the gratitude becomes fear. The hand that gently holds creates connection. The hand that refuses to open creates suffering. The story of the bird and the cage. There was once a man who found a beautiful bird in the forest. The bird had the most beautiful song he had ever heard. The man was amazed. He thought, "I cannot lose this bird." So he built a golden cage. The cage was beautiful, comfortable, safe. Every day, the bird sang, and the man was happy. But slowly, the song became quieter. The bird no longer sang with the same joy. The man became worried. He asked, "Why are you unhappy?" The bird looked at him. "Because I was meant to fly." The man replied, "But I love you. I protect you. I give you everything." The bird answered, "You gave me everything except freedom." The man became silent. For the first time, he understood. He did not love the bird's existence. He loved having the bird. There was a difference. The next morning, he opened the cage. The bird flew into the sky. The man felt sadness, but beneath the sadness, there was peace, because love had finally become love. The fear behind attachment. Why do we hold so tightly? Because deep inside, there is fear. Fear of losing, fear of change, fear of being alone, fear of uncertainty. The mind says, "If this disappears, I will lose happiness." But look deeper. Was the happiness truly inside that thing? Or did that thing simply awaken something already inside you? A person can bring love into your life, but they did not create your ability to love. A moment can bring joy, but it did not create your ability to experience joy. A success can bring confidence, but it did not create your worth. The source was always within. The empty hands. Imagine walking through life carrying many objects. One object is a memory. One object is a fear. One object is an expectation. One object is a dream. One object is a person you are afraid to lose. Your hands become full. And because your hands are full, you cannot receive anything new. Life continues offering new moments, new experiences, new possibilities. But there is no space. Letting go creates space. Not because what you held was meaningless, because life is still moving. The tree and the seasons. Look at a tree. In spring, new leaves appear. In summer, the tree becomes full. In autumn, the leaves fall. In winter, the tree becomes empty. Does the tree panic when the leaves fall? Does it say, "I am no longer complete"? No. The tree understands. The leaves leaving are part of the tree's life. Without letting go, there is no renewal. Humans are the same. Sometimes, what leaves your life creates space for something new. Sometimes, an ending is not a punishment. Sometimes, it is a transition, the peace of impermanence. Buddhist teachings often speak about impermanence. At first, this idea can feel uncomfortable. Everything changes, everything passes, nothing stays. But look deeper. Impermanence is also the reason life is precious. A sunset is beautiful because it ends. A song touches the heart because it finishes. A moment feels special because it will not return exactly the same way. If everything lasted forever, perhaps nothing would feel precious. Change gives meaning. Tonight's practice, the open heart. Tonight, place your hand gently over your heart. Feel the warmth. Feel the life within you. And quietly say, I allow life to change. I allow people to grow. I allow moments to come and go. I can love without holding. I can appreciate without fear. I can let go and still care. Breathe. Feel the space created. The heart does not become smaller when it releases attachment. It becomes lighter. The lantern of gratitude. Imagine yourself once again beside the moonlit lake. You carry one final lantern. Inside this lantern are all the things you love. The people, the memories, the experiences, the moments. But this time, there is no fear inside, only gratitude. You place the lantern on the water and you whisper, thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for the moments we shared. Thank you for the lessons. Then you let it drift. You watch it move across the lake and you realize something beautiful. The things you love do not disappear because you stop holding them tightly. The love remains. The gratitude remains. The meaning remains. Coming home, the deepest lesson of letting go is this. Nothing truly belongs to us. Everything is borrowed. This body, this breath, this day, these people, these moments. And perhaps that is not sad. Perhaps it is beautiful. Because when we stop believing we own everything, we begin appreciating everything. The flower becomes more beautiful. The conversation becomes more meaningful. The moment becomes more precious. Because we finally see it is temporary. And because it is temporary, it matters. The moon reflects on the lake. The water moves gently. The lantern disappears into the distance. And you remain, not empty, free. Free to love, free to experience, free to appreciate. Without fear, take a slow breath. Tonight, you do not need to hold everything together. You do not need to protect every moment from changing. You do not need to fight the natural flow of life. You can trust. You can soften. You can release. The hands can open. The heart can breathe. The mind can rest. And perhaps this is true freedom. Welcome back. The journey has brought us here. The night is quiet. The world is resting. The moon shines softly above the still water. And now, there is nothing left to search for. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to hold tightly. For this moment, you can simply be. Take a slow breath. Breathe in and feel yourself arriving. Breathe out and allow yourself to soften. The day has ended. Whatever happened has already passed. The things you completed, the things you left unfinished, the words you spoke, the words you wished you had spoken, all of them can rest now, tonight. You do not need to carry the weight of the world. You only need this breath. The final walk to the lake. Imagine yourself walking slowly through a quiet forest. The path is covered with soft leaves. The air is cool. The trees stand peacefully around you. There is no hurry. Each step feels gentle. Each breath feels natural. You walk deeper into the forest, and slowly, you begin to hear something. The sound of water. A quiet lake appears between the trees. The same lake that has been waiting throughout this journey. The surface is perfectly calm. The moon is reflected clearly. The stars shine above. Everything is still. You sit beside the lake, and for the first time in a long while, you notice how tired you have been. Not only the tiredness of the body, the tiredness of holding expectations, holding memories, holding fears, holding the need for things to remain the same. The heart becomes tired from holding too tightly the bag you have carried. Beside you is an old bag. You recognize it. It is the bag you have carried through life. Inside are all the things you were afraid to release. A memory, a regret, a person you tried to keep forever, a dream you attached your happiness to, a version of yourself you tried to protect, a future you tried to control. You open the bag, and one by one, you look at what is inside, not with anger, not with sadness, with compassion, because everything inside once mattered. Every attachment came from a desire to love, a desire to be safe, a desire to belong. There is nothing wrong with that. You were simply trying to protect yourself. But now, you understand something deeper. Protection is not always holding on. Sometimes protection is knowing when to release. The first stone. You take out the first stone. It represents the fear of losing, the fear that something beautiful will end. You hold it for a moment, then gently place it beside the lake. The water does not reject it. The earth does not judge it. It simply rests. The second stone. You take out another. It represents the past, the moments you replay, the things you cannot change, the words you wish were different. You hold it and whisper, "Thank you for teaching me." Then you place it down. The past remains part of your story, but it no longer needs to be your burden. The third stone, another stone. This one represents the future, the endless questions, the unknown, the possibilities. You have carried it for so long, trying to predict, trying to prepare, trying to control. Tonight, you place it down. Tomorrow can meet you tomorrow. You do not need to live there tonight. The fourth stone, the final stone. This one is different. It represents the person you think you must be, the perfect version, the successful version, the version that never fails. You look at it and finally understand. You were never required to become perfect. You were only required to be present. You place the stone beside the others, and your hands become empty. The freedom of empty hands. For many people, empty hands feel frightening because they think, if I let go, I will lose everything. But look closer. Empty hands can receive. Empty hands can touch. Empty hands can create. Empty hands can hold something new. A closed fist can only protect what it already has. An open hand can experience life. The lantern of peace. Now imagine a small lantern appearing beside you. It is different from the others. This lantern does not contain fear. It does not contain attachment. It contains awareness, the quiet understanding you have gained. You pick it up. The light is warm, soft, peaceful, and you realize the things you released were never your true source of peace. Peace was always within you. The teaching of the river. A river flows beside the lake. You watch the water moving. The river does not hold yesterday's water. It does not worry about tomorrow's path. It simply moves, flowing, changing, continuing. This is the wisdom of life. Everything moves, everything changes, everything transforms. And the more we accept this, the lighter we become. A final reflection. Tonight, ask yourself, what if I stopped fighting change? What if I stopped demanding certainty? What if I trusted life a little more? What if I allowed things to come and go naturally? Perhaps you would discover something. The moment you stop chasing permanence, you begin experiencing the beauty of the present. The flower becomes more beautiful. The person beside you becomes more precious. The simple moments become more meaningful because you finally see them clearly. The moon and the water. Look at the lake. The moon is reflected perfectly. Then a gentle breeze arrives. The water moves. The reflection changes. But has the moon changed? No, only the surface changed. Remember this. Life will create waves. Your circumstances will change. Your thoughts will change. Your emotions will change. But beneath all of it, there is a quiet awareness within you, a place that can remain peaceful. The final letting go. Now, place the lantern on the lake. Watch it float. Slowly, quietly. The golden light moves across the water, carrying your gratitude, your understanding, your peace, not disappearing, simply flowing. And as the lantern moves away, you feel lighter, not because you lost something, because you stopped trying to own everything. Rest now. The night is deep. The lake is calm. The forest is quiet. The moon watches over everything. Your now breathing becomes slower. Your body relaxes. Your mind becomes softer. Nothing needs to be solved tonight. Nothing needs to be controlled tonight. Nothing needs to be held tonight. You can rest. You have carried enough. You have searched enough. You have tried enough. Now, simply be. Like the tree, like the river, like the moon. Present, peaceful, free. Take one final breath. In, acceptance. Out, release. In, gratitude. Out, letting go. And remember, the things you love are not meant to be trapped. The moments you cherish are not meant to be frozen. The future is not meant to be controlled. Life is meant to be experienced. And you are meant to be free. The lantern continues floating. The lake continues resting. The night continues moving. And now you may sleep. Sleep peacefully. Sleep deeply. May your heart become lighter. May your mind become quieter. May you awaken with a deeper understanding. Nothing is truly lost when it was never meant to be possessed. Good night.